Hey guys, what's going on? This is Travis. I'd like to welcome you back to Coffee, Computers, and More. And today we're finally going to do something from the computer side. The battery in my 2009/2010, well, this is actually a late 2010 model, MacBook is starting to go. It's at a point now where the battery's 13 years old. It'll last about an hour and 15 minutes. Decided it's time to go ahead and replace it. Now, I'm not sponsored by these guys, but I highly recommend that you go through Otherworld Computing, MacSales.com. I looked at my original invoices. I've been buying batteries and RAM from them since 2007. I used to have a habit of buying cheap, kind of outdated Mac laptops on eBay, and then if they needed some repairs, I'd fix them up a little bit and use them, and turn around and resell them a couple years later and make my money back. They're very usable. In fact, this 2010 model is still basically completely usable online. I have no problems with it. I still use it, so I'm going to keep using it. So we're going to show you how to replace the battery. The nice thing is if you go through Mac Sales to get the battery, you're going to pay a little bit more. You're going to pay about double what you pay on eBay, but you do get a superior battery. They do use better cells. You do get a longer life out of the battery. And if there's a problem, you don't have to ship it back to China, which many times costs more than the price of the battery itself. So buy once, cry once, plus they do give you the special tools that you need in order to take the bottom cover off this, as well as remove the battery, which some of you might have, but they're not just standard, Phillips head or standard screwdrivers. So let's go and get started. First things first, make sure you discharge any static that you might have on you. Touch something metal. If you're gonna walk around your living room a little bit, just make sure you touch something metal to discharge, because you don't want any kind of static electricity during this process. Or if you happen to have a grounding strap, you can go ahead and wear that too. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So real quick, the battery that I bought, I think I paid 70 bucks for it before shipping and before tax, although it only took about 4 days to get here, which was awesome. It's called the New Power Battery for 13-inch MacBook, late 2009/mid 2010 model. The great thing is if you don't know what kind of Mac you have, they show you how to identify it. You can also call them, they'll tell you what it is if you don't know where to look for what variation or version of Mac you're running, a vintage Mac you might have. Again, this is really cool. This is the entire kit that you need to get going. It is a 74 watt-hour battery. Can't remember how many milliamps it is, but really it doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and open this up and check it out. Okay. So we have the instructions right here, which we're just going to take you through so you can watch it if you're more of a hands-on person like me. Batteries in here. We're going to leave it in here until it's time to take it out. It does have a special plug it does install. We have to remove the back cover off the back of the laptop before we do install it. And we've got the 2 special screwdrivers right here that we're going to use, which I'll keep around in case I ever need to do any repairs. It's very handy to have anyway. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so we have 8 Phillips head screws that need to be taken off the back cover. Obviously, you want to make sure that the computer is turned off before you do this, so go ahead and remove the screws. I will let you do that, and we will do the same. We'll come right back here in a minute. Pro tip, if you're doing this up at the office and you happen to have a coffee cup lid sitting around, just go ahead and toss them right here in this little compartment so you don't lose your 8 screws. All right, let's continue. Okay, so we've taken out all 8 of the screws. This is the first time this has been opened in 13 years. So we're going to go ahead and pop the cover off. We're just going to kind of go around here. There's some little clips to keep in place. They're just some little pegs. I do have a can of compressed air here that we might use to clean it off just in case the cooling fans are really dusty. I have no idea. This model has seen some use. Okay, the underside's just a little bit dusty, so we're going to go ahead and spray that off real quick. All right, so hopefully this is in focus for you. We need to unhook the battery. You've got this little tiny plug right here. Just go ahead and lift up on that and it will pop right out for you. There we go. So now the battery's been officially detached. By the way, when this is all done, we have to go through and recalibrate the battery. Otherwise, the computer won't realize it's got a new battery in it. It's going to treat it like the old battery. So that's something we'll take you through the process of too, once we finish with this step. All right, after that, we have 3 black Phillips screws that are right here. We're going to need that in order to remove the battery. So we're going to go ahead and take those out. Not sure which screwdriver we're going to use, so let's go ahead and try and see what happens here. Because I do have 2 that came with the kit. One of them is going to be a little bit too big to use on the little screws on the back cover. Again, these little guys are tiny. Make sure you don't lose them. And these screws will go, looks like they went on, these 2 will go on the left side and this one goes on the right side. And that's just because these have to match up so they don't fill up the cover holes that are going to be the screws that will go back in when you put the cover back on. So left, left, and then right. Okay, let's go ahead and take that 3rd screw out right here. Okay, so we have 3 screws that also need to come out. There's one here, there's one here, and then there's another one that is hidden right up here underneath this tab, if I'm not mistaken. It requires a special tri-lobe screwdriver, but I've actually just got a Phillips, and this is the one that came with my kit. So I'll go back and mention this at the beginning of the video that you need to make sure you've got the tri-lobe screwdriver. Otherwise, the Phillips head that I have actually fits and works, so that's probably why they just gave me the fatter Phillips, because it just comes right out. So we're going to put those screws down on the bottom here. So one right here, and then obviously one right here. There we go. was kind of worried there because it looks like they just sent me 2 larger Phillips head screwdrivers, but this one does work with it, which is totally cool. All right, now the next one is just right up here underneath this flap, so we'll go ahead and move that back and remove it. Okay, and that third screw is going to be a little bit tricky to get to because there's a piece of plastic that's covering it right here. It says, do not remove the battery. Well, at this point, it doesn't matter. I'm sure this thing's out of warranty, so yeah, we're going to go ahead and take it out. So pull back that little tab right there, as you can see in the video. See where my finger is? We're right there. And then you can go ahead and take out that screw. Okay, at this point, we can go ahead and pull out the battery. So just grab the little tab right here. Your battery's just going to come right out. We'll just go ahead and set this in the container that my new battery came in. So we're going to go ahead and set that off to the side. Now, the installation is basically going to be the reverse of the process, except we do have to do the calibration, which we'll take you through here in just a moment. So bear with me. We'll just take you through the reverse in case so you don't make any mistakes and put the screws back in the wrong holes, etc. So let's go ahead and take you to the installation process. Looks like this does have a plastic cover on it that I can take off. It's just some protective film. I'm going to go and remove that. Again, the new power battery, 72 watt-hour capacity, 10.95 volts. Part number A1342, lithium ion. All right, we'll go ahead and reinstall it. So the first thing we want to do is just make sure that your little plug right here stays clear, and just go ahead and sit that in the compartment right here. Okay, push it back down. There we go. Ribbon cable. You know what? We're going to do a little bit of a bend with that ribbon cable here. Just kind of bend it just a little bit there. Don't break it because it's going to have to be bent anyway to go back in. There we go. Very specific part here. There we go. Much better. Okay, now let's go ahead and move on to the next step. All right, so now we're going to replace the tri-lobe screws. We have one here, and one here. This will secure the battery down. Okay, so again, I'm going to make sure that I'm kind of pulling back on that tab a little bit. So take your tri-lobe screws, go ahead and reinstall them. So you've got this one right here in the top left. So first one's right here in the top left. Just go till it's snug. We're going to go ahead and do top right and then get the one in the center. This will kind of brace the battery down, and then we'll finish it off with the screw in the middle. So we'll go over to the top right here real quick. Go ahead and drop that in. It's going to go right here. Okay, so go ahead and turn that. Make sure it's nice and snug, but don't over tighten it. You don't want to strip it out. There we go. It will stop when it's done. Okay, now the middle screw. Nice thing about these screwdrivers they give you from Otherworld Computing is that the screw heads are magnetic, which is really handy for little tiny screws. Now just the middle screw. Make sure that's nice and tight. Okay, now we're going to take our little tiny Phillips screws. We have one that goes right here on the left side, and then the right side. So we're going to go ahead and reinstall those real quick along the bottom of the tabs here, bottom of the battery pack. Again, we're not going to worry about Loctite these screws. Okay, there's the first one. And finally our third one, which will go off to the right. There we go. Make sure that tab is pushed down right there in the center. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and take your connector for the battery. We're just going to push that back into its socket right here. Be very careful when you do this. Just push it straight down. It will just click right in. It should fit perfectly with no issues. All right, at this point, I think we're ready to go ahead and put our case back on, and we will go on from there. All right, so when you put the bottom cover back on, there are 3 clips. There's one here in the center, and one right here. That's essentially what's going to lock into place when you put this cover back on. You kind of feel it kind of sort of snap back into place, maybe make some noise, kind of click a little bit. Now, it's really nice is you've got metal threading inside of each of in the frame itself, so you can, make sure these screws are nice and snug. Obviously, you want to make sure you don't over tighten them. So we're going to replace all 8 screws. We'll start here and just kind of work our way around here. Or if you want to do one on the top, if you want to do the 4 corners and then fill in the center, you can do that too. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to do that, and then we will come right back. So go ahead and take your screwdriver and your screws, replace all 8 of these screws. All right, so what you want to do here is you want to get this thing charged up completely to 100% while it's turned off. Leave it charging, let it go a couple hours after it reaches 100%. And then we will come back and show you exactly how to calibrate the battery. So hang tight. Okay, so in order to calibrate the battery, it's pretty simple. Let's start off. You want to open up your energy saver under System Preferences. So go into your System Preferences, Energy Saver, Battery. Go ahead and turn the computer sleep and the display sleep down to never. And then we do not want to put the hard disk to sleep when possible, and we don't want to dim the display. Then over on Power Adapter, you want the exact same settings. You don't want it to go into sleep mode ever. We also don't want it to wake up for network access at this point, okay? Now, we'll go ahead and close it out. So now what we want to do is basically just unplug it and just let the battery completely run out. Okay, so basically let the battery, let it just shut itself down completely, turn itself off, let it sit for a couple hours before you plug it back in. You want to let that battery have a nice deep cycle discharge, and then you want to plug it back in and charge it back up to 100% after the battery has fully discharged. Okay, so once it's fully charged back up to 100%, you are good to go. You can unplug it and use it however you want to. The battery will be calibrated and you're all set to go. All right, guys, so this is Travis. Thanks for watching Coffee, Computers, and More, and that is how we set up the new battery once we get our battery up and running, and we're all good to go. So I want to thank you guys for watching today. Please like and subscribe, and if you have any questions down below, let me know. But in the meantime, I want you guys to have fun. I want you to be safe, and as you know, we will talk to you soon. All right, take care. Bye-bye.